Hello and welcome to Rising. Happy Monday, y'all. It's our show. We're glad you're here. And it's going to be a great one. Isn't that right, Briahna?
Yeah, y'all, it is. What is this new Southern edition?
I don't know. This is the third time we're taping this intro due to technical issues. I have to have something, I have to have new material every time.
I appreciate
to keep it feeling fresh.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to make you do the fake banter we did last time.
It was really good fake banter the last time.
We'll have to save that for some bloopers. All right, let's just start the show.
All right, well, there is some big news. Donald Trump leads President Joe Biden by 7 points in a new head-to-head matchup survey shared with The Hill from Harvard Capps Harris. It seems voters for both parties are less than pleased with their respective frontrunners. Amongst Republican respondents, just 33% said they would vote for Trump in the primary if it were held today. Amongst Democratic voters, just 40% said the same for President Biden. In other general election matchups with hypothetical Republican challengers, President Biden was deadlocked with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and barely edged out former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley.
And she won't be the only South Carolinian in the race for much longer. Apparently, Tim Scott is going to enter, but we're going to talk about that later. So the polling here also found the majority of Americans do not believe Donald Trump colluded with Russia, nor do they believe the Hunter Biden laptop story is disinformation. How about that? Glenn Greenwald tweeting, a newly released Harris-Harvard poll conclusively demonstrates how radically out of touch liberal corporate media is with the views of Americans. It's not just that corporate media rejects Americans' views, they don't permit those views to be heard. So a very favorable poll result, obviously, for Donald Trump. We should start with that before getting into how most Americans are just not buying what the mainstream media is selling. But, Ron DeSantis's pitch to Republican elites, to everyone, down from elites to the base, is that you like Trump, that's fine. I like Trump too. Love the guy. Support all his policies, will implement them, but I don't have his baggage, and people like me better. I'm a better, moderates, independents, people who will never vote for Trump again after, what happened January 6th and other things. They could vote for me, put me in, I'm a surer bet. So he is undercut very badly every time a poll like this comes out, showing Trump doing better against Biden than DeSantis. Now, it's early. A lot of the country doesn't know who DeSantis is. After he becomes more of a household name, those poll numbers could equalize a little bit, but it does have to sting when that's his main selling point and it's undercut by development like this.
I think that's right. But there is another way to look at this, and that's to reflect back on 2016. When similar polls demonstrated that Bernie Sanders was the better bet to beat Donald Trump in head-to-head matchups as compared to Hillary Clinton, who was a historically unfavorable candidate. But as long as Hillary Clinton was still polling as also beating Trump, I feel like it made the Democratic Party feel justified in saying, we're going to get behind her because she doesn't have the baggage, because she's not a Democratic socialist. She's not going to call us out on all of our corruption, et cetera, the way that Bernie Sanders would. And in a similar way, the Republican Party might decide, okay, as long as it seems fairly confident that DeSantis can still pull this one out and win, we still might be interested in backing his campaign at least up into a point. So the orientation that the party might bring to this versus the orientation that voters might bring to this are a little bit different here.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think it hits at his main selling point. But again, it's very early.
Yeah.
People don't know who he is. Politicos do. People paying close attention to the news. You watching at home, watching a national news show every day, you know who he is. But your family members, your friends, working people who don't follow the news, especially political news. They follow local news. Don't follow political news with like the same zeal that we, whose jobs it is to cover it, do. They don't necessarily know who DeSantis is yet. Trump has, universal household name. Hillary Clinton, universal household name. Joe Biden is the president now. He's very well known to everybody in the country. So they have something DeSantis doesn't yet have. He's governor of Florida. He's not a national political figure. He's entering national politics, but he's a state leader.
Also, we have yet to see the clause come fully out as Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis go more openly against each other, as Ron DeSantis announces, and then we see more kind of public mainstream discourse from Donald Trump about the other contenders in the race. We saw very little from him at the CNN town hall, weighing in on other candidates. There was one, Ron DeSanctimonious, that was kind of thrown out there, but otherwise not very much on that at all. And historically, Republican challengers to Donald Trump haven't fared very well when they're right in the lion's eye of his insults. We'll see if over the last 4, 5, 6 years, people have figured out the magic formula at withstanding Trump's slings and arrows.
Indeed. So the rest of this poll also very interesting to us, finding, and not surprisingly, that most Americans are just not at all, they were not duped, they were not fooled with what has become the dominant narrative of your CNNs and MSNBCs and New York Times and Washington Post, et cetera, that about the influence of Russia in our elections, the spread of viral misinformation, Russian-related, the laptop story. No, most people, at least who answered this poll, understand that was an attempt to trick people, that was some bad information itself that the mainstream media really bought into and threw off the narratives relating to that for years.
I mean, honestly, I guess on one hand it is reassuring that 59% of Americans
see through it.
But on the flip side of that, it is kind of concerning that 41% of Americans still don't all these years later, when I think the reporting has been very clear. Even the Biden family doesn't challenge the authenticity of the laptop itself or the contents of the laptop. To the extent that anybody is curious to start looking into it, there is obviously a lot of video, et cetera, that is very difficult to get around if you were in a position of trying to deny the veracity of the contents of the laptop. Not that I'm saying that those videos are what's as politically important as some of the other claims that people are trying to make about, ill-gotten money and Biden's awareness of it and those kinds of things that have yet to be proven. But in terms of the authenticity question, all that existing, the stories that we've been reporting on with respect to the Twitter files and the suppression of the laptop, all of that, and 41% of Americans still believe that it was fake. I mean, it does say something about the enduring power of legacy media.
I guess you can see it that way. I mean, we're such a split down the middle country. We're such a polarized country that, that every issue has to be slotted neatly into Team Blue or Team Red. And
it breaks down that way, by the way. 79% of Republicans believe the laptop is real. 21% believe it's disinformation. 41% of Democrats believe it's real. 59% believe it's disinformation. Frankly, I'm kind of surprised that 21% of Republicans think that the Hunter Biden laptop is disinformation.
But again, the country is so evenly split that if you can even get an issue to like 60-40, that shows that's the power of whatever the 60 side is. In this case, the side knowing that the laptop story is real. RUSSIAGATE was a fraud, media perpetrated fraud. But there's always a core base of people around the other side because things are so enduringly, predictably tribal.
Right. And this part of the poll, I think, has some interesting implications for both Donald Trump's strategy and what the Democrats' counter strategy is going to be moving into more of a general election context. As Glenn tweeted, large majorities of Americans say they are not surprised to learn the FBI abused its power in the 2016 Trump-Russia probe to help Biden. We have Republicans really hitting hard on the weaponization of the FBI, these kind of defund the FBI movements. There's really deep criticism of the intelligence agencies. You have Democrats like RFK Jr. also really beating that drum and emphasizing that as part of his run. And I wonder what will happen to establishment Democrats if they don't tap into or at least acknowledge that there is this deep distrust of intelligence agencies and the perception that they are rigged, particularly in favor of liberal candidates.
Well, coming up, we're going to talk a little bit more about some examples of law enforcement, including the FBI, badly overreaching, abusing their power, giving people all the reason to register in these surveys that they don't trust the FBI. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about RFK Jr. actually being left out of one of these polls. Doesn't make any sense to me. We'll dig into that. More Rising right after this.